And welcome back to Take a Knee with Mike and JD. I'm JD,
And I'm Mike.
and we're going to be talking about Week 6 of the 2022 NFL season. Kind of the week of upsets, I would say. There was a couple of upsets, surprising upsets that happened. Um,
It was.
both of our teams' games were upsets, I would say. But one of us, the upset was good, and the other one, the upset was pretty bad.
Yeah. That sums it up pretty well, unfortunately.
Yeah, so this week, I'll start first. This week, the Steelers played Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and as we did on our pick show last week, we both picked Tampa Bay because just the way the Steelers have been playing, the way their defense has been playing, you just thought Tom Brady would just come in and just demolish them. He has Mike Evans back, and they still have a pretty solid defense. They were favorited coming in. So it's just one of those things, especially during the week. Minkah Fitzpatrick went down. He didn't play this game. We still don't have T.J. Watt. We had a lot of our other cornerbacks and D-backs out. You just thought Tom Brady was going to have a field day. But the defense stood up pretty big, not allowing a touchdown until just a few minutes left in the game. They bent, but they didn't break, which has always been frustrating as a Steeler fan because that's kind of how the defense has always been, where they kind of give up these little pick plays, but then they'll sort of stand up in like the red zone or earn a field goal. So like they'll usually give up a field goal, but not a touchdown. But you just hope that they would actually, instead of bend at all, they would just, go for the sack. And Tom Brady, they did come up with big sacks. They sacked Tom Brady in the red zone, which was a huge sack on third down. But the other surprising thing is the Steelers actually scored a touchdown on their opening drive of the game. I mean, I had to pinch myself. I thought I was dreaming. They never ever do they score a touchdown on their first drive.
When was the last time it been that they did that?
If it was recent, it would have been the first time in a few years. I meant to look that up. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But they just never do it. Like sometimes they'll get a field goal, but they don't ever go down and score on their opening drive. So Kenny Pickett looked great on that opening drive. He did get helped a little bit by a roughing the passer call, which, yes, it was roughing the passer. It wasn't as bad, obviously, as his hit that we were talking, which would have been roughing the passer because he was a runner at that point the other game. But, he let go of the ball and, Devin White came in. He had more than enough time to stop, and he shoved Kenny Pickett back. So if that's what they're going to call, I'm okay with them calling that, because at that point, the defenseman had a lot of time to react to prevent the hit. But I can see a lot of people, thinking that's a little bit soft. But other than that, he looked great. Outside of that, the offense wasn't really connecting outside of that the rest of the game. They only picked up a field goal for the rest of the first half. Again, they kept Tom Brady to only 3 field goals in the first half, so they went into the half leading. Kenny Pickett gets hurt almost right after halftime. It was a bad hit. It was not a hit, but tackle. It was kind of like a Tua tackle where he sort of, you can tell the way he hit, he whipped his head back off the ground. So you certainly hope he's okay. After that, you have Mitch coming in. You're hoping that he could at least do something to preserve the game, which he absolutely did. It was probably his best game as a Steeler, and he only played like 20 minutes.
Yep.
The other frustrating thing, though, about this offense is they took the opening kickoff, 87 yards or something like that, down to Tampa's 12, and they only picked up like 4 yards and had to kick a field goal. That's one of those times that you have to score a touchdown. If you return a kick that far, you got to put it in for 6. It was super frustrating that they could only get a field goal. But it was great when it was the game was on the line. Usually these things happen against the Steelers where they sack a team and they're like 3rd and 13 or something like that. And then the Steelers will give up a 25-yard pass play in the middle of the field, nobody covering the guy. And that's what happened for the Steelers against the Bucs late in this game. They had 2 third and longs on that final drive. When they scored their touchdown, that were huge. It was like a 3rd and 16 after a botched snap. That Trubisky, made great throws to Claypool and to Pickens, and Claypool had his best game since his rookie year. I mean, he's been stone hands really since his rookie year, and he had a great game. So if we get more out of him like that, George Pickens is still pretty good. The catches that he makes, and Deontay Johnson. You just hope that Trubisky, because it's kind of funny. People were debating is if Pickett is healthy for this week, which honestly I don't think he should be. I probably think he should skip this week just because he definitely has a concussion or at least some type of head trauma. Where maybe it's not that severe, but if he takes another hit this week, he could be out for the season. Whereas if you sit him for 1 week, he'll probably be good the rest of the year. So I'm okay if they sit him against Miami coming up here on Sunday night. But once he's healthy, what do you do? Do you go back to Pickett because he took the starting job and he only lost it because he got hurt, or do you still play with Trubisky? And that'll probably be how well Trubisky will play in this Miami game. If he starts to click with the offense like he did in the fourth quarter, then they probably leave him in to play. But this was honestly a big win. It probably saved their season right now. Where if coming up this week, Cleveland's playing Baltimore, and Cincinnati is playing Atlanta. So if Atlanta beats Cincinnati and Cleveland beats Baltimore and the Steelers beat Miami, the Steelers will be tied. They all 4 teams will be tied first place in the AFC North. For the Steelers to start 1-4 and to sort of be able to next week somehow be in first place of their division is kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. Now Miami is still favored in that game. They are playing in Miami right now, but it's one of those weird scenarios that if the Steelers win right now, they're right back in it. 1-4, you felt the season was over. They're still 2-4, but if they put 2 games here together, they're right back in the division, if not in the wild card race. So I do feel better this week. It's one of those things. I don't know if this happens to you, but Sunday the Steelers lose. That Monday going to work, it's just miserable. You know what I mean? Like you're like,
oh, absolutely.
It's like and I know it's obviously a different time zone for you, but it's like Sunday. Your Sunday night's ruined. Like say it's a 1:00 game, the rest of your Sunday's ruined. You get up, you can't listen to the radio or you can't listen to whatever because they're just talking about how your team lost.
Yep.
But this week, it was great. You got to wake up, you got to feel, oh great, the Steelers won. They beat Tom Brady.
Yep.
So I do feel okay. Just how the defense played without T.J. Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick against Tom Brady and Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette was pretty great. I would say to have them, and that's why I think Mike Tomlin is a really good coach because he definitely got his players up for this game. Where it's 1-4, if you have a worse coach, he's probably thrown in the towel right there. And Mike Tomlin has started a season 2-6 before and ended it with an 8-8 record. Went on a winning spree, so he still has definitely control of this locker room. And he definitely got these guys ready to play, especially our backup defensive backs. So as much as a lot of Steeler fans like to dunk on Tomlin, he's a lot better than 30 other coaches in the league, or 29 other coaches in the league. Like he's like a lot of other teams, if we fired him, would hire him immediately. So
yeah, that's right, and I don't think especially with the the stretch that the Packers are going down at the moment. Like a lot of Packers fans be like, get rid of LaFleur and that, but I feel it's much the same situation. Like people are very quick to forget the good performances and that, and guys like Tomlin and LaFleur, they would be, unemployed for approximately, 2.4 seconds. You know what I mean? Like,
right, they'd be called immediately. There's a bunch of teams that would employ their service. So, coming into this week, Tua is coming back, and you are playing Tyreek Hill, so you hope to have Minka back this week to have him over the top to watch Tyreek Hill. But I do feel better about the season right now, and yes, we are still 2-4. We're 2 games under 500, but it feels a lot better right now being 2-4 in this division where the leader is only 3-3 than being 1-5 right now. Had they blown that game to Tom Brady, so yeah, so it's taking it one game at a time. Like I said, they put on a run here. They're right back in it, so. The big thing is I'm just worried about Kenny Pickett right now. They invested the first round pick in him. He's clearly the quarterback of the future. I hope they are slow with his health because, this season they still could play for a playoff spot, but they're not the dominant team that they hope to be next year or the year after. So be slow with his health coming back. Don't burn a year of him, being hurt to where next year he hasn't had any reps for over a year and that kind of thing. So I guess on my side I'm feeling pretty good. So what's going on with the Packers?
Yeah, I'm at a bit of a loss as to what's going on with them. To be completely honest, this game was awful. The offense was just anemic. If every side of the ball was bad. Like the offense was bad.
Well, to be fair, the defense played pretty well the first half. At that point,
that's right,
the offense has to reward the defense with some points there. They played pretty well.
But I mean, that's been the story too much this year, and that's the thing, that the defense is too talented, but to be playing like this. And yes, they played well the first half, but there's two halves of football, and that's where we're losing it. I don't think they're helped by the offense because they're not getting the rest that they need. Like especially in the first
right,
half,
exactly.
They come out, they play really well. They kind of expend a lot of gas, but then the offense is going 3 and out, so they're barely having a drive,
right,
and they're back on the field. Like it's ridiculous, and Rodgers has to cop a lot of the blame for this. Like yes, he doesn't have the receivers he's had before, but it's twofold for me. If he's the kind of quarterback he believes he is, and I think he is. Like I'm not being harsh. Then he needs to be able to elevate them. But at the moment, he's just not. He's missing throws. He's missing a lot of throws. He's making poor decisions. A lot of the offense is predicated around him making decisions at the line of scrimmage, him with those RPOs. And a lot of times he's making the wrong one. So he really needs to step up.
Yeah, there was that pass where he had the guy a step. It would have been a touchdown, but he just didn't.
Yeah.
That's a throw Roger makes all the time. And
yeah.
I think it was Dobbs. He overthrew him by like 2 steps. Like it was bad. If he hits that throw like he usually does, that's a touchdown. Easy.
That's exactly right. And the other thing is too, I mean, he wanted the big contract, and that's the thing. Like you can't have it both ways. Like Rodgers can't say, he with the career he's had, he probably deserves that contract. I'm never a fan of kind of, you're getting the real big contracts at the end of your career, because while you've got the experience in that, your physical tools are obviously less than they were. But in any case, he wanted that big money. But you look at a guy like Tom Brady, who takes less so that he can have those weapons around him. And it does, you can't have it both ways. I mean, if in any job, if
right.
you're in our job, and we say to the CEO or whatever, hey, look, give me the money. I'm happy to work with apprentices because I'm the talent. Give me that and whatever. And if they do that, at the end of the quarter, when you're missing your KPIs and your deliverables, you can't walk in and go, geez, my team sucks, mate. That's why we're missing this.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Especially in a cap sport like football, 28 million or 30 million is a lot different than 22 mil. Like when Tom Brady takes less, with the Packers, when you're spending that much on a quarterback, you then have to build through the draft. Whereas other teams who quarterbacks may take less, they can go out in free agency and get veteran receivers and things like that. So as you see this year right now, especially with injuries, Rodgers doesn't have a lot. He has rookies out there basically, and they're just not really. You can see that they're either out of sync or he's out of sync, and it may be both.
And the other thing I know, while we can't go and get a big receiver in that, look, just this week, guys like Robbie Anderson, Deshaun Jackson have been snapped up for not very much, both salary-wise and trade value-wise. I think Robbie Anderson was a 6th and a 7th, that kind of stuff, where I don't understand why you're not making those moves. Yes, they're not going to be a huge difference maker, but when we're already thin on receivers, and Cobb's out now, Watson's out. We need more bodies at receiver, and
veterans help, especially if you get Deshaun Jackson, Robbie Anderson. they would definitely help these young guys in this
Yeah.
locker room right now.
So I don't understand not making those moves. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I mean, they need to snap out of this and quick. Like the only kind of silver lining is that just with the way that the conference is falling, like 3-3 around quick, like it's kind of going to be okay, but they can't afford many more weeks like this. So, and I don't really have too much more to say. It was a really disappointing game, and I'm not taking anything away from the Jets. And it's one of those things where you've got to realign your expectations. Like, the start of this year, you look at playing the Jets and you look at that as the bye pretty much because of what they produced in the past. But they're a different team this year. But still, that to play that poorly was really disappointing. At home, on the back of a loss.
All facets too. The special teams was awful too. You have a missed kick, you have blocked punts. And yes, the receiving the Green Bay Packers punt return team did also have a block punt too, but the Jets took advantage of theirs. They took advantage of the mistakes, and it it was a close game at halftime. It was like 3-0 or something like that. Like it. For that game to be, 27-10 at final, the Packers came out and laid an egg in the second half, really.
Yep.
And they definitely had their chances. And it's brutal, especially because now you have Minnesota won again this week. Now, this week is pretty crucial for Green Bay because Minnesota's on a bye. So can you catch up to them while they're on a bye? Can you get a win here, be 4-3? Before they come back to just be kind of like a game and a half behind them rather than you lose this week, you're nearly 3 games back in the division lead at this point. And that's pretty hard in an NFL season to overcome.
Yeah, that's right. My only other kind of gripe on this one is just, Rodgers has done it pretty much his whole career, but this, third and very, very short, or even fourth and short, going for the big ball down the field. Like, I've never liked it. I've always been a fan of, you move the change, you pick up a fresh set of downs. Like I'm not a coach, but just as a fan, I always think, your big shots down the field, they're first or second play, you know what I mean? They're not third, and they're definitely not fourth. And it frustrates me on two aspects. It's always frustrated me that he does it, but this team needs confidence, and 3 and outs isn't giving anyone confidence.
No.
Just pick up that set of downs and go for it. And on top of that, the defense needs a rest. And they are absolutely gassed. So, Rodgers wants his hero ball down the field, but they're at the moment, especially with the way that the offense is struggling, they're 1% plays. Like they're such a long shot. I mean, a lot of the times they're a fairly big long shot, but if you've got an Adams down there to try to go and get that ball, it's less of a long shot. But even then, when Adams was there, half the time they would miss. But at the moment, it is essentially, you might as well just walk off the field. You might as well go, look, I'm not going to do the right thing here. Let's get off the field. Like it's disrespectful. Like if I was on that defense, I would be furious when he does that shit. I mean, especially 4th and 1. I mean, Dillon or Jones will get you that down. Like there is no doubt.
You saw it in this game when they gave the ball to Jones. He was good in this game. Either out catching or running it. He was probably the only Packer that had a pretty an above average game. When you watch the highlights, he made the missed tackles. He picked up yardage and stuff like that. So, and like you've said before, when you have a tandem of running backs and you don't use them, especially, and I like when teams are aggressive. Like, okay, it's 4th and 1. We're at, the 48-yard line. We're kind of in no man's land. It's kind of like, it's a long field goal, but a short punt. Why don't we just go for it? Sometimes that play does work where you do the play action and you got a wide receiver or a tight end downfield because they sell out. But when you're always doing that, you're not tricking the defense at that point.
Well, and that's exactly the point. And when it's used sporadically, I can see the point because essentially, you kind of, even if it gets intercepted, it's essentially an arm punt. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're having a few things where your punt's being blocked anyway, well, kind of what the hell? But he does it so much. I mean, at that point, at 3rd and short, they you're going to have more success with the run because pretty much the defense is expecting Rodgers to throw it down the field. So they're not kind of doing that bunched, run stop kind of thing.
Yeah, goal line type
defense.
defense.
They're hedging their bets, you know what I mean? Because then you go, he is probably going to throw it. So you're not catching them off guard. And I don't get it because, whatever you say about Rodgers, he's a smart guy, especially when it comes to football. He has to know this. I don't get what's going on with him.
Yeah, so, the crucial weeks for our teams coming up here next week, coming closer to their buys. They want to be either over 500 or at 500. They can't really afford to stay under 500 that much longer now that we're coming into the middle of the season here. So, other than that, like we said, there was a couple of upsets this week. You had Atlanta win by 2 touchdowns against the 49ers. Obviously, the Jets confidently winning 27-10 against the Packers. I wouldn't say it's an upset, but it was surprising when you have New England win 38-15 in Cleveland. Again, a team that you thought wasn't that good. They put Zappy in there, and all of a sudden, it's a second coming of Tom Brady, apparently. So, what is going on up there? You had Indianapolis finally put a game together. You had Matt Ryan. I think he threw for 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards. That's what we expected to begin the year. You have the Giants continue to kind of assert that they are a good team. They came back down 10 with 6 minutes left in the game to beat the Ravens, and Lamar Jackson's kind of fallen apart this part of the he started the season. Everybody went, what a smart decision for him to not take that money. He came out and absolutely balled like the first 3 or 4 games of the season. And now they're on a downward trend. They're losing, and he throws a crucial interception to let the Giants go up by 4 points there with a few minutes left, and then he gets a strip sack on him for basically the Giants to put it away. And you gotta hate for Saquon Barkley fantasy owners when he slides right there at the 1. He's already up. It's already, if you score there and kick the extra point, it's still a two score game. But you do like to see that selfishness as far as like on a player side to just slide right there and end the game instead of having to do another kickoff, send your defense out there. You do kind of help your teammates in just ending the game there, but I'm sure there was a lot of people unhappy that he didn't take that touchdown at the end there.
Absolutely.
Seattle, beat Arizona. Arizona looked like crap. We had Buffalo win in KC. They kind of avenged their loss. Philly still undefeated, and again the Broncos just look like garbage. The Chargers didn't look that great last night, but the Broncos definitely didn't look that great again. They are 2-4. It's funny now the pick that they traded to Seattle. Seattle's like picking in the middle round right now because they're 3-3, and their pick that they got for Wilson is like a top 5 pick right now. Could you imagine that the Broncos think that they're just a quarterback away, so they go and get one of the best quarterbacks on the market, and then they have a 4-13 season or something like that. Now, I don't think that that'll happen. I probably think that they'll play better because that defense is just too good for that offense to be that bad. You have Surtain, who's one of the best shutdown corners right now. But it definitely was an entertaining week of football. It's obviously more entertaining when your team wins, but there was just a lot of surprising scores, surprising teams that came out and won. Like you said, in the last couple of days, you have Deshaun Jackson coming back playing for the Ravens, which, he is obviously up there, but he's still a pretty valuable wide receiver, in his career. He can still play. And like you said, Robbie Anderson, who gets traded to, you would have loved to see him get traded to the Packers.
Oh, absolutely.
That would have been a great move, in my opinion, had they done that. Now, we don't know if they did or not. Maybe they said, yeah, we'll give you a 7th, and Arizona said, no, we'll add a 6 onto it, and the Packers didn't want to do it. As to why you wouldn't, that is surprising to me. Give up 2 late-round picks for a pretty good wide receiver. But, so I'm excited here for Sunday Night Football in Miami. I hope that the Steelers come out and play pretty well. If they, like I said, they win, Cleveland wins, and Cincinnati loses, the Steelers are back, baby, right in first place of the AFC North. So that'll be great. But yeah, so thanks for joining us, everybody. This was the Week 6 recap of the 2022 NFL season. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and liking the video. But other than that, thanks for coming, and I hope you have a nice day.
Thanks, guys.